Yeah, I'm smiling. I know I'm always smiling, but it is a serious night here on the BattleCry. Sunday night BattleCry with yours truly, Mark Meckler. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to hit a lot of stuff tonight, but it's serious stuff. But you'll notice I still smile during the serious stuff. I want to start off, first of all, by thanking the folks over at Defender Gear. That's defender-gear.com. We got the cool hat. I got to stand up a little bit. Okay. We got the cool shirt there, right? Come and take it. If you're a Texan, you'll love that. And even if you're not a Texan, you got to love the sentiment. Come on and take it. Right. So defendergear.com or defender-gear.com. Go there, put in COS action and then the number 10, COS action 10. You get 10% off. These guys are cool. Sponsor the show. Give me the gear. We love those guys. Joe and the team over at Defender Gear, defender-gear.com. All right. So the great silencing is upon us. I'm serious about this. This is historic. What's happened over the last couple of weeks is absolutely unprecedented in modern American history. It is fascism on the rise in the United States of America. It's corporate fascism. We saw Parler get entirely erased from the web, right? The left's been telling us for years, if you don't like it, if you don't like Twitter, if you don't like Facebook, build your own. So you know what? Dan Bongino, some other friends of mine got together. They built Parler, built their own, did a hell of a job, created a great platform. I was there. Levin's there. A lot of other big, great patriots there. Pete Hegseth, lots of folks over on Parler. Millions and tens of millions of people signed up on Parler. So you know what they did? You know what these tech giants did? These SOBs did, the ones who told us to build our own platforms. They erased Parler from the web. They did. First, Apple, they threatened to remove them from the App Store. Then Google just, boom, removed them from their App Store. So you remember now, that means can't get it on your Android. Then, boom, Apple removed them from their App Store. You know what that means? Can't get it on your iPhone anymore, right? And then, boom, what they hoped would be the death blow. Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services erased them, shut them down from the web. They were gone, off the air, gonzo, wiped out. And I think that Amazon and Google and all these folks and Apple believe that they're gone forever. Well, I'm just going to say, here's what I'm going to say. Yeah, you think so, huh? Come and take it. Because that ain't happening. It's not happening. You might have seen Parler came back up. They've just got a single notice back up now. That came up tonight. They will be back. These are friends of mine. I've been doing everything I can to help behind the scenes. Love those guys. Love the people behind it. Bongino, all of them, great American patriots. And yeah, they're not going away. In fact, they're coming back stronger than ever. You got to help them. I got to help them. When they come back, we're going to be on there. You're going to be posting there. I'm going to be advertising there. We got to centralize, by the way, man. We got to focus. We got to build them up. A lot of celebrities are going to be there, conservative celebrities. We have to help. When somebody goes down on the field and you're a conservative, you have to help. So that happened this week, right? It's incredible. And I've been seriously a lot of hours into helping those guys get back up. They are great patriots. They're doing whatever it takes. And then at the end of last week, unbelievable again, right? A big movement out there. The hashtag walkaway movement. Brandon Strzok, great guy, friend of mine, and just an incredible guy. A guy who came from the left, a hairdresser from New York. You guys might have seen him out there. And he started collecting stories of people who had walked away from the radical left. Incredible, moving videos. The walkaway movement. Hashtag walk away. Incredible stuff. If you haven't watched these videos, I'm just telling you, they're incredibly powerful. You could have seen them on Brandon and the Walkaway Facebook page, except Facebook erased them. Wiped them out. Boom, gone. 580,000 people. Not only wiped them out, wiped Brandon's page out, wiped his admin's page out, all of his admin's pages out. Wiped their vendors' pages out, wiped their personal pages out. Boom, shut them down. That's okay. You know, you can appeal to Facebook, right? Wrong. No appeal. Their accounts were terminated. Done. I'm doing everything I can behind the scenes. Believe it or not, there's some current conservative folks inside Facebook who advocate for people like us that get screwed over by Facebook. And so we're doing everything we can to get the walkaway folks back up and running. By the way, they still have, if you look for them on the web, I believe it's at walkawayfoundation.com. They still have a foundation out there, so you guys can go there and take a look at them and follow Brandon. You can still follow Brandon, Straka, on Twitter. He's also, I know, on, Podia, I think is his main site if you want to watch him. Go there, sign up, support him, because the left is trying to erase him. And you know what's going to happen? We ain't going to let him. We're not going to let him. The great silencing is on. This is the tech civil war, and we're in it, and we're going to fight it, and we're not going to give up, and we're not going away. We're going to get our own hosting. We're going to get our own platforms, and we're going to get our own merchant processing, and we're going to get our own banks if we have to. We're going to do all of this stuff. We are going to do all of this stuff because we're going to have to do all of this stuff. Why? Because the left has gone mad. I mean, Exhibit 1, right? It's the impeachment ShamWow. Right? Remember the ShamWow commercial? It's as corny and ridiculous and stupid as ShamWow. So this is what the left is going to do. They're going to make a mockery of our systems. They're going to make a mockery of justice. They're going to try to silence you. This is fascism on the rise. Benito Mussolini described fascism. He described himself as a fascist, and he said everything in the state, nothing outside of the state, nothing against the state. I want you to think about that. Everything in the state. That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar to me. This is what the left always says. The state can solve everything, right? Nothing outside the state. Wait, that sounds familiar too, right? They want to silence you. They want to crush your speech. They want to make sure you can't worship the way you want to worship. They want to make sure you can't go to school the way you want to go to school. So nothing outside the state, everything inside the state, and nothing against the state. And now they have the tech oligarchy cooperating with them. All right, this is what you're facing. This is the real deal. This is the time that we live in. It is the time of the great silencing. The great silencing is part of something even bigger. And this is really my main topic tonight. And that is the great decoupling. The great decoupling is taking place in the United States of America today. See, I don't want to shop at liberal institutions anymore. I'm sick and tired of them telling me what I can and can't do, what I can and can't say, what pronouns I can and can't use. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them forcing wokeism on us. Are you tired of it? Wokeism, socialism, feminism, you name it, whatever it is. I'm tired of all the isms. I'm tired of them calling us homophobes and misogynists and racists and Nazis and Islamophobes, whatever they call us. I'm tired of it. And we're decoupling. They don't like us. In fact, they hate us. And you know what's happening? Because of that, the country's splitting apart. It's decoupling. We're going to start shopping at different places. I used to be a big Nike guy. I don't wear Nike anymore. I threw away all my Nike stuff. You won't see me in Nike stuff anymore. I'm trying not to buy it. I am not buying any of their stuff. I'm not suggesting, by the way, a boycott. I'm just telling you, I don't want to shop with companies who hate me. I don't want to shop with companies who are anti-American, anti-male, right? I don't want to shop. I think they're racist, right? Anti-whites. It's unbelievable what's going on out there. No, I want to be careful and tell you, I'm not a white supremacist. I hate white supremacists. White supremacists hate me. I'm Jewish. Remember, I'm a Jewish Christian, so they hate me. No white supremacy here. I'm just tired of all the racism from the left. Straight up racism. Telling white people they're racist because they're white people. No matter what they think, no matter what's in their heart, they're racist. White privilege, this BS, anti-racism. I'm sick and tired of it. So the country is coming apart, and they look at you and they look at me and see racist, Nazi, homophobe. They don't like us. The country's coming apart. We used to rally around sports, right? Professional sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, you name it. Can't even do that anymore. They've made all that stuff woke. It's all about all the same stuff. I'm not interested, right? Most of us not watching it anymore. We're going to talk more about consumerism here shortly. So the country is coming apart. And you know what I think about the country coming apart? I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. I think this is exactly what needs to happen. I'm probably the only guy in the country that feels that way. Why do I feel this way? It has nothing to do with secession. I don't want the country to break apart. I think that's terrible and bad, and it shouldn't happen. There's a lot of evil folks out there in the world, the Chinese Communist Party, the Islamo-fascists, the drug cartels, the Russians. They'd love to see the country fall apart. No, I think the country needs to stay as a union. But here's why I think it's great. Because if you don't like all those people telling you what to do, look, if you're a woke liberal and you don't like me, and if I'm a conservative Christian, which I am, and I don't really like you all that much, I don't see what we have in common that much, then welcome to America. Welcome to the history of America. This has always been America. There's some weird fantasy we have that Americans have always been unified and now we're coming apart. So let's do a little history lesson, shall we? Let's go back to before the American Revolution. Let's go back to the original 13 colonies, right? It was all lovey-dovey. The colonies all loved each other. There was just great relation. No, 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 no. They didn't like each other. In fact, they considered each other blasphemers. There was sectarian Christianity divided the colonies. The colonies themselves individually, generally closer to England than they were to each other. We take for granted how easily we travel back and forth between states, between major metropolitan areas. They didn't have that luxury. They didn't know each other. They didn't like each other. They didn't trust each other. In some colonies, it was illegal to be a religion that was favored in another colony. South Carolina was closer to the Caribbean than they were to any of the other colonies, not even England. So they were disparate peoples living in 13 colonies who unified to fight King George because they had a more serious problem on their hand than they did with each other. So they locked arms and they fought the American Revolution against King George, against England, against the British Empire. We all know how that story turns out. They won, I think, by the grace of God. Their ferocity, their patriotism, but by the grace of God, they won the American Revolution. And by the way, don't romanticize revolutions. Lots of people die. And usually, almost always, the tyrants win. The worst tyrants, the worst thugs, the most violent people, the most lawless people, the most immoral people usually win. The American Revolution is an aberration in history. So we go through the American Revolution. After the revolution, of course, what happens, they're now brothers in arms. They fought a revolution together. They've been in the trenches together. They like each other. They trust each other. No, that's not what happens. They come out of the revolution. They still don't trust each other. They still don't like each other. In fact, they dislike each other and distrust each other so much they form a government, right? A confederation of states, the Articles of Confederation, that is so weak. The central government is so weak and they're so unwilling to cede any power over their own state to people they don't know from another state that the government cannot survive. No power to tax, no power to raise an army. What are they supposed to do? Doesn't work, right? They know that they need a common defense against England and Spain and maybe even France. They know that there are world powers jockeying for North America. And so they need to be unified. So they get together in convention in 1787. They send some of their best and brightest, you know the names: Madison, Adams, Washington, there presiding, Franklin, incredible men of character and grit and determination. And they get in there and they get into Independence Hall, and it is just absolutely total cooperation. It's a love fest. They all get along now. Wait, no. It's not how the story goes. They don't like each other. Accusations fly, self-interest, self-dealing, big colonies against small, larger populations against smaller populations. It's a very difficult time, right? People who don't believe in slavery against people who do believe in slavery. They don't like each other. We got to quit fantasizing that Americans have always been unified. We're not, and we've never been. And in that convention, in fact, there was so much disunity that they created the best government ever created on earth by men for the preservation of liberty. They created our beautiful three-branch federalist system, a system which gave limited enumerated powers to the federal government. Limited enumerated powers, meaning the ones that were written down. Why did they do that? Because they didn't trust each other. Because they looked across the room there in Philadelphia and they said, I'm from New York. I don't want people in Massachusetts telling me what to do. I don't want them in my business. So we're just going to let the federal government do what it's got to do, that we have to link arms and do together, and everything else is left to the states. The beautiful, well-balanced, check and balance federal system. It's incredible. We're so blessed by disunity. We are so blessed by the fact that we are such a diverse population. We're actually blessed by the fact that we're just like human beings have always been. We fight, we disagree, we don't like each other all that much. We're skeptical of each other, we're suspicious of each other. It's always been this way in America. And we have that to thank for the federal system. Now, if you fast forward over time, of course, a country that lives together for a long time, these colonies turn states and the states grow and we add states. And of course, we learn to live in harmony and unity, right? No, we don't. Fast forward to the 1860s and we get a civil war. That's how disunified we are. We fight the ultimate civil war over slavery. over whether men can own other men. And you have the abolitionist North and the slaveholding South, and there's a war that takes place. And only when hundreds of thousands of men and women and children have died in this war, and the country has been torn apart, and the South has been burned to the ground, do we preserve the Union. It's brutal. It's ugly. It's violent. And the Union is actually forced upon people who don't want it. Do we get along? Do we love each other? Is that what's going on here? No, that's not what's going on. It's the people who believe that it's important to be unified win a war. And after that war, we all get along, right? Northerners love Southerners. Southerners love Northerners. No, of course, that's not our history. It's not human history. It's certainly not American history. But we have the federal government, the Union, that binds us together. I'm going to fast forward a long ways to World War II. A greater common enemy. The Nazis, totalitarianism, fascism on the rise all over the world. And we link arms as Americans from all across the country, and we go to fight that. And we win. It's a miracle, really. Providence in play once again. And we come home and we have what is arguably the most prosperous period in American history. Post World War II, up through the 1950s, it's incredible. This is where our current idea of the American dream is born. A white picket fence and a house and a family in the suburb. It's incredible. I mean, this is the dream, right? Do we love each other all across the country? No. No, we don't. No. Country is rife with racism. There's discrimination. If you think about what people in the North think of people in the South and vice versa, look, a lot of this still exists today, to be frank. We are sort of independent nations living together, not just the states, but regions of the country. People in the South, you'll hear people in the South say people in New York. No offense to people in New York. I have lots of good friends in New York, but the cultures are different. You hear people in the South say, oh, people in New York, they're so brash. They're so rude. They're so cold. You'll hear people in the North say, I don't know about those people down in Mississippi. I mean, it seems like they're a bunch of hillbillies down there, a bunch of racist rednecks down there, right? We have stereotypes about each other. We don't necessarily trust each other. We live different lives from each other. It's always been this way. It was this way in the 1950s. But in the 1950s, something unique starts to happen. Television, broadcast at a national level. The networks start to develop. We start to watch the same things on television. Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, right? And these kinds of shows that we're all watching, Ozzie and Harriet. I might be dating myself, right? It's even before my time, but I did watch those shows when I was growing up, but it was before my time. But we start to watch these things together. That means there's national brands advertising, Braxo, Lucky Strike, other things. We start using some of the same products and we start to feel like, well, maybe we are all the same. NBC, ABC, CBS, they're broadcasting the news to us as we move through the 50s and into the 60s. We're all watching the same newscasters, getting the same information, starting to feel the same. In the 60s, you get the boom of franchising. McDonald's and others start to spread their wings across the United States. Now you can go from Mississippi to New York and eat the same food. It's pretty extraordinary. Hotel brands, chains start to spring up and franchise across the country. You can stay in the same hotel in Mississippi that you can stay in New York. It's pretty incredible what happens to the country. We get national sports leagues that we're all watching and cheering on and really paying attention to. And we start to be paying attention to the leagues. And now we have friendly competition, but we're all kind of paying attention to the same thing. The Super Bowl, tens of millions of people watching the same thing at the same time. We're all the same. By the 1970s, the entire society is coated with what I would describe as a veneer of sameness, of unity. But it's only a veneer. It's only paper thin. For those of you who've traveled and traveled extensively like I have all over the country, you understand New York is different than Mississippi. Mississippi is different than Texas, which is different than Idaho, which is different than California, and so on and so on. The states, the regions have their own culture, their own ways of worshiping, their own local foods and dialects. We're different. We don't always like each other. We don't always get along. Frankly, we don't even always treat each other nicely. But we could live together because we have this federalist system, except something starts to happen. And by the 1970s, you have the heyday of big government. We've all agreed now, oh, we can all live together. And if we can all live together, if we're all unified, we can all have the same government, right? We can all be in Washington and be governed from Washington. 1970s, the heyday of big government, it's out of control. And there is nobody standing against it. There's no Tea Party movement. There's no conservatives standing against it, standing against the fiscal excess, the excess of power, the growth of the federal government. There's nothing standing against it. It is the heyday of big government. And something's happening under this veneer of sameness that we've created. And that is that the elites in the institutions, the educational institutions, the media institutions, the business institutions start to move to the left. In 1973, we get Roe versus Wade telling us that the right to an abortion, the right to kill a baby in the womb, is somewhere in the Constitution. And conservatives, people like me, are like, what? Where did that come from? And over time, it gets more and more and more and more extreme. Till today, where most people on the left, most of the radical leftists leading the left, leading the Democratic Party, will tell you that you can't limit a woman's right to kill a baby in the womb all the way up to the birth. And we've even heard talk of keeping a baby comfortable after it's born while the mom decides what to do with the doctor. In other words, infanticide, people on the left talking about. And we're thinking, what country is this? Who are those people? Where do I live? I don't even like those people. I don't believe what those people believe. It's things like gender. Like it's he and she is created by God. Male and female is created by God. But no, the left now says 57 genders. 60, 80, I don't know, infinite number of genders. Gender is fluid. Men are women, women are men, both are neither. You can cut off your genitals and go from being a man to a woman. We should allow little kids to be given hormones to change their sex. This is insanity. You cannot change your gender. And people like me and people like you are thinking, what in God's name is happening in our country? Who are those people I live in a country with? And why are they allowed to tell me what to think? Why can they silence me? Why can they tell people in Texas? Why can somebody in New York have anything to do with what people in Texas tell their children, or how they raise their children, how they worship, cars they drive? Why is Washington, D.C. telling us what to do? So we've come to a crossroads. I think you see it. We had 7 months of violence in the street from the radical left in America, condoned, encouraged, excused, funded by the left in America. I don't like it. I don't like those people who do that kind of stuff. I'm going to be frank with you. And they don't like us. They don't like people like me. I'm a Christian. I'm a professing, loud, obvious Christian. They don't like people like me, right? And so the thing is, do we still need to live together anymore? We are decoupling. Do we actually need a divorce? How would that work if we got a divorce? Is it secession? Is it the southern states? What is it? And if you look at the map, it's impossible. 85% of California's geography is red, is conservative, but the population centers are blue. How do you divide that? Go to Wisconsin, it's very similar. Red urban blue urban population centers, or the red the rest of the state. The map of the United States is almost all red. Probably by geography, 95% red, but big blue population. You can't divide a country like that. So what do you do? And why would you want to? See, the world's dangerous. The Chi-Coms, the Islamo-fascists, the Russians, the drug cartels, they want us to fall apart. And we need to be together to be strong. Does this sound familiar? We don't really like each other. We're a disparate population with different belief systems, different cultures. But the world is a dangerous place. It is 1787. It's no different. We've not changed. What's changed is our system of government. The reason we are so at each other's throats today is because our government has become centralized in Washington, D.C. That is the fundamental problem. So what are our choices? Figure out how to dissolve the country. I don't think that's possible, and I don't think it's a good idea. Or go back to the beginning. Go back to where it all started. Go back to federalism. Go back to limited enumerated powers. Sounds great, right? How do we do that? Like, if anybody's been listening to me, if you've been listening to me, you know how we do it. We call a convention of states. And we propose amendments that take power away from the federal government and give them back to the states where they have always belonged, in a way that our government was intended to function, in a way that it did function, in the way that it has taken us through over 200 years of our history. But go back to where we began, to the formula that actually worked. Go back to federalism. Go into the states. 15 states have passed this resolution so far. It takes 34 states. A lot more are going to do it this year. A lot more understand we don't really have a choice at this point. If you don't want the radical left shoving this stuff down your throat from Washington, D.C., if you're worried about them packing the Supreme Court, if you're worried about them adding states and trying to make it so that we have absolutely no rights in America, if you're worried about your First Amendment rights, if you're worried about your freedom of religion, if you're worried about your gun rights, then you have got to take the power away from DC. There's not a choice right now. Look, I know there are people out there who are skeptical of a convention. What are you going to do? Like, what's your solution now? Are you going to stand with the Marxists in Washington, D.C. and say, oh, we should elect better people? How's that working for you? We can actually have an amendment that limits the Supreme Court to 9 justices. We can actually have an amendment that prevents them from adding states without a 3/4 majority of states agreeing. We can stop the stuff that the left is trying to ram down your throats. If you're not for this now, if you don't believe in this now, even if you've been against it for a while, if you don't believe in this now, then you are standing with the fascists. Plain and simple. You're standing with the Marxists. You're standing with the people who believe everything in the state, nothing outside of the state, and nothing against the state. That's where it is right now. So if I sound really serious about this, it's because I am. I'm really serious about this. I've already been traveling. I've been in Idaho already, been in Wisconsin already this year. I'm headed to Montana in just a couple of days. So if you guys are out there in Helena, come see me. I'm going to be there for a committee hearing. Yeah, I ain't afraid of COVID. No, I'm not afraid. I'm going to travel. I'm coming. I'm going to see you. I don't care what all the crazy leftists tell me I'm not allowed to travel. I'll be there. I'll be there in Helena. Join me. Join me in the fight. Go to conventionofstates.com, get signed up, click the Take Action tab, be a warrior, be a defender of the Constitution. Remember I said defender-gear.com because I'm a defender of our rights. I'm a defender of the Constitution. I'm a warrior for freedom. I know you guys are too, right? I know exactly who you are. I know what you stand for. And we are now experiencing the great silencing and the great decoupling and what I would call the tech civil war. And I'm going to fight and I'm not going to give up. And you know what I think about it? It's awesome. It's fantastic. It's a great time to be alive. Do you want to live in a time when there's nothing to fight for? Or do you want to live in a time where you can be the hero that you were born to be? God made you to be something amazing and unique and special and heroic. And you're being called right now to that fight. To be all those things that I know that you are, that's what you're being called to do. So join us. Go to conventionofstates.com, get signed up, send the petition to your legislator, then click that Take Action tab and get seriously involved. Don't sit on the sidelines. All right, I'm going to go to the questions now. Producer G, do you want me to go to the questions in the chat myself? Or are you going to put some up for me on the chat? Or how are we doing this today, Producer G? Are we going to use Slack? Or I'm just not sure. We've got a lot of technology open here, guys. By the way, we're using some new broadcast technology. So okay, I got them on Slack. Here we go. So Thomas Shaw says, what's the action plan? I just laid it out for you. It's Convention of States. It's fighting back on social media. I'm going to tell you one more thing. I'm going to tease one more thing. No red-blooded American, no conservative, no libertarian, nobody who believes in the ideals of America should watch the damn Super Bowl this year. See, we have more power as consumers than anybody on the left. We just never act. We need to drive the ratings into the ground. It's not because I hate the NFL. It's not because I hate any of the advertisers. So I got to say, most of them have gone woke on us. But the reality is we need to demonstrate that we got the guns, right? We got the muscle. And we do. We have the consumer muscle. We're going to be talking a lot about this. I got a lot of folks that are going to be joining me. Boycott the Super Bowl. Don't watch the Super Bowl. Let's drive their ratings into the toilet. Let's show them what happens when you and I stay home. All right. So that's part of the action plan, Thomas Shaw. The rest is join Convention of States and get involved. Roberta Rennie says, which states are considering the COS resolution this year? A whole bunch of them, Roberta. So I just named some of them. We've got Idaho. We've got West Virginia. We've got Kentucky. We got South Carolina. We got North Carolina. We got Montana. We got Wisconsin. Man, it's just a whole bunch. I'm going to be all over the country. New Hampshire, I just saw filed. I'm going to be all over the country. So it's all over. Barbara Shield says, can we help Parler get back up? They're going to be back up. They got a notice up on their webpage. We help them get back up. They are there. They're ready to roll. In the next couple of days, they'll be there. What you can do to help is make sure all your friends are there. Not only just posting if you were already there, because that's all coming back, but you got to make sure everybody that you know is on Parler. Samuel Saladino says, was that a dog or a cow that just walked behind? Okay. Are they back here? Can you see him? I don't know if you can see him. It's hard to see them. They blend in with the couch. It's my dogs, Gideon and Levi. They're always here. They're pretty close to cows. Gideon looks like a Holstein. They weigh about 160 pounds apiece. Those are the boys. They're always around. Terry Burkett says, has Indiana joined the COS? Terry, absolutely. Indiana was an early adopter, but that doesn't mean you're out of the game, because states help each other, and the COS activists are building the largest self-governing grassroots army in American history. That's what it's about. It's bigger than convention of states. So, Terry, if you're in Indiana, join anyway. We need you. Richie Carter says, how do we start our own banks? I'm working on it, Richie. Honestly, we're actually working on that. So what we're going to do is I've got a group of investors. We're out looking for a bank to buy that won't cave to wokeism. So we're going to do that. We'll have conservative banks. Dan Barlow says, how can I get involved with COS in North Dakota? Dan, what you do is you go to conventionofstates.com, sign the petition, click on the Take Action tab, and get involved there in North Dakota. And by the way, you'll be involved all over the country. We need you. Teresa Meyer says, where can we get t-shirts? If you're looking for COS t-shirts, you can go to conventionofstates.com, click on the store and get COS t-shirts. If you're looking for some of that kind of Defender gear kind of stuff that I got on right now, you can go to defender-gear.com. If you do that, make sure you put in COS Action and then the number 10, COS Action 10. You'll get a 10% discount. Very cool. Those guys are so cool to us. We love them. David Hayton says, how many states do we need for a convention of states? We need 34, David. Let's see. Mary says, does the governor have to do this? Nope. Ain't that cool? Like, you got bad Governor Evers there in Wisconsin. We're going to get it done without Governor Evers. You do not need a governor's signature. Chandler Summit says, are you coming to Indiana? I don't have plans on the books right now, but if you guys ask me, I'm happy to come to Indiana. Let's see. Coming to Colorado. Christina Steffen asks if I'm Stevens Oaks asks if I'm coming to Colorado. I will. Again, if the team asks me, the way you do that, join conventionofstates.com, click on the Take Action tab, become a volunteer, let the team know you want me to come. I'll go anywhere, and I'm happy to travel. Is Kentucky on the list? You betcha. One of my favorite capitals, sitting there right in the mountains in a holler. It's just beautiful, the Kentucky State Capitol. So I'll come to Frankfurt anytime, and it is on the list. Dates for Montana. I will be out there. Let's see. I get there late Wednesday night. I'll be there Thursday at the Capitol. Friday is the hearing in the Capitol. So if you can come to Helena, come to the Capitol on Friday. Again, get in touch with the state team and find out about it. Can we get term limits for the Convention of States? You betcha we can. And not just term limits for legislators, term limits for also judiciary, including the Supreme Court, term limits for staffers. Like, what do you think? Staffers are around way too long. How about for the fourth estate? How for the fourth branch of government? And that is the administrative state, the unconstitutional state. We need term limits there as well. We can get those. What Brett Sturley says, what's the Super Bowl? Yeah, I agree with you, Brett. I'm not watching anyway, but we got to make sure nobody else is watching. And by the way, the Super Bowl, really? The Super Bowl of politics, baby. That's the Convention of States. All right, last is South Carolina in? Not yet, Priscilla, but they're at the very, very top of my list. I was in South Carolina, I think 4 times last year. I'll be there soon. So again, go to conventionofstates.com, sign the petition, and then click the Take Action tab and get involved, because it's going to be up to you to save the country. Literally, you can do it. You're the heroes. You're the grassroots activists. Thanks again to our friends at defender-gear.com. If you want to get 10% off, go to defender-gear.com. And then when you check out, you put in COS Action and the number 10, COS Action 10, get 10% off. Get the cool hats, cool shirts, all that stuff. If you want COS gear, go to conventionofstates.com/store. You can get the COS gear. I love you guys. It's going to be a great 2021. Don't let anybody get all dark on you. We're still going to win this thing. God bless you. We'll see you next week on the Battle Cry.